Good afternoon, everyone. This is the October 19th Middle School Assessment Coordinator meeting to get together, put our heads together around things that are happening or will be happening soon, to learn some things, and just to make sure that if we've got ideas or questions, that those can get addressed. So I am going to start sharing my screen, and we'll be hopping in here with the slideshow. All right. So today we're going to spend time talking about, first of all, again, resources. We'll introduce the team once more, but we will talk about some of the resources that are available. But the focus today is just on preparing for Access, which is the first really big, deeply involved assessment that we have that is also mandated by the state. So that'll be coming up soon. And this is just kind of a preparatory meeting or time. Next month, we'll spend a lot more time on Access. We'll also give you an update regarding the survey, the climate survey that is out in the field, and there's still another week and a half, 2 weeks for that. We'll look at and we'll spend some time talking about the AAPPL, which is given annually in grade 8, the DLI DBE. And finally, we'll be spending a little bit of time on something coming up this winter, but it comes every 3 years, which is the Dane County Youth Assessment, also affectionately known as DCYA. What it is, why it's important, and some things to start considering for that. And then we'll get into your questions. So, all right, again, the people who are supporting you, whether they're on the line today or not, myself, Sarah Wallner, and Jamie Anderson. This is our expanded assessment team. Stacy Will is here from Student Services, and she supports on accommodations and anything that has to do with that. If she doesn't know the answer, she will find the right answer. Multilingual programs, Ben Koash, may or may not be here right now, but he has the answers for things regarding our English learners. And finally, our local improvement team is led by Lindsay Mitchell, formerly known as Lindsay Malio, and she is here to support you in any kind of school improvement process that you need. So let's keep moving. Again, some of the resources, again, if you've been around for a while, you know this is where we put things on assessment on the mmsd.org/assessment on our website. Things are starting to move. I'm trying to update the pages every day, adding a little bit more every day. There will be more how-to documents as we roll forward. If you have questions that are technical about Chromebooks not working or having the wrong version or something like that, it's great to reach out to Incident IQ. I'm working on a streamlined process for those that are the assessment technical sides, not just the technology, but we're missing a student. We have all kinds of issues with something. We have several email addresses that we use, and those you will get, you'll see them here. They typically get faster responses, although I'm trying to still clean up the Achieve IIQ questions from this fall. So they are Achieve at Madison, iReady at Madison, WIDA Screener at Madison, and FAST at Madison. So any of those pieces of software that you use, as we talk about access testing, the WIDA Screener is going to get you to an email to myself, Sarah, and Ben, and so on. So those are the places that you'll get the fastest service from. And IIQ, we're working on getting that caught up and then also improve that process. So please just keep that in mind, and that please know that these email addresses go to multiple people in multiple departments, so they can provide their expertise on your questions to resolve your questions. Again, our new department, Research Assessment and Improvement, RAI. We have office hours every Monday, and the Google Meet link is here, as well as in the agenda for today's meeting. And so you will have that available. Please don't hesitate to drop in. I know it won't work for everyone on that at that day and time. However, if you do have questions, please see us, and we'll either set up a meeting if you've got a better time, or we'll just respond via email or chat. So keep that in mind as we move forward. All right, let's talk a little bit about access testing and getting prepared for that. I met and presented this to the BRTs and the ESL teachers on Monday this week. So there's going to be just a little bit more information in this particular presentation, as we're almost a week from that. So first of all, please keep in mind that anyone who administers the access test for our English language learners needs to be certified. This is a mandated test. It is actually part of the federal ESSA identification process. Access is included there. It is not on the state report cards, but it is still a mandatory assessment. To give something like access, you need to go through a professional development process. This is for everyone who has, regardless of whether you've given the assessment before or not. So it really, everybody needs to go through this process. The certification process, the training, the modules, the quiz, etc., is all found on weta.wisc.edu. They own the access tool, and so that's where the professional development lies. If you are brand new to this whole access process, please email us and we'll set you up with an account at WETA, at the WETA website. Email, you guessed it, WETA Screener at Madison, and we'll get that taken care of and respond to you right away. Now, those of you who've been through this several times might think, yeah, I know how to do this. I've done it before. You still need to be certified. So when you go into the professional development portion of the WETA website, you can just go right to the certification quiz and see if you can get the 8 out of 10 correct. If you do, you're done. If you don't, like me the first try, you go back and review the professional development modules, and then you come and take the quiz once again. Linked on this slide is a document that Sarah has created that summarizes where you go on the WETA website and which modules you have to do if you're going to be doing this training from the beginning. So that would be Module 1, Module 3, Module 4, and the certification quiz. Those 3 modules, 1, 3, and 4, take about 15 minutes each if you take your time and go through it completely. The certification quiz, if you know this, you can go through pretty quickly. So just want to make sure that you are aware that that document does kind of say, these are the critical pieces for you. Now, if you want to do Module 2 and Module 5, you're more than welcome to it, but that's essentially what our job is. It describes that on what we do on the backside of this. So don't worry about that. All right, this is new. If you were at the presentation on Monday, I did not have this information available. This will go out to access coordinators next week. Just again, provide a timeline. The 27th, so a week from tomorrow, we'll find the AMS, which is the platform for access. DRC is the vendor. AMS is their platform. You will get access to that by the 27th. So it might be a little bit before that, but you will certainly see that next week. You won't need to do anything with it, but you will have access. Student accommodations. Now, one of the things that we typically do is we pull all the students who have IEPs from OASIS and provide them in a one-stop shop for you. And the purpose of that email that you will get with those student rosters, which will happen on the 27th, you'll get that. You'll be expected to just take a look at that. First of all, it'll tell you 2 things. Number 1, it will tell you who in your building is expected to take the access test. The second thing you will do will be to take a look at the Students with Accommodations tab, and you can see where students may have an open IEP. You are not expected to go through every single student line by line and double check their IEP with what's there. We pull these things from OASIS. And so it's really important that I don't want you to take more time than is needed, but I would share this with your CC teachers, your case managers, just say, confirm, yep, that all looks good. The other piece is if there is an open IEP, just to find out where that is. It doesn't mean that the student will not get accommodations. It just simply means that things aren't exactly completed there. So you need to kind of go through that with your team and get any changes to us by the 8th of November. So you'll have a little over a week, probably a week and a half-ish, by the time everything is said and done, to get those changes by the 8th. It's much easier to make these changes ahead of time than when you sit down with a student at a computer and suddenly realize that they were supposed to get this support or this accommodation and they don't have it. That kind of wastes everybody's time. So if you can get that to us, we will then load this on the back end, making sure all the students have the accommodations and supports that they need, so that when tickets get printed, which we will print the tickets for you the first time out, when those tickets are printed, it will have student supports, accommodations, etc., coded on the bottom of it. So for instance, small group setting, SG, small group. So that will be there, and you'll need to just kind of understand that happens only if we get your responses in a timely manner. So the tickets will come to you the week after Thanksgiving break, and then the physical materials, the things that you might need to physically give the test, including an administration booklet, etc., will be to you from DRC on or about the 30th of November. Remember, these are those bright yellow boxes. They'll say WIDA on the side. So you hopefully won't be able to miss those. They won't sit on your loading dock looking like everything else. So, and finally, as far as the early timeline goes, testing window opens on Monday, the 4th of December and closes on January 26th. And next month, we'll spend more time talking about that specifically, what that means, what happens when new students show up, et cetera, et cetera. Just so you know, DPI pulls student information from IC. So if there's ever a time to make sure that there are changes, or if you notice that things are wrong, students are already in AMS. So we can't make changes pre-DPI poll, but it will make a difference as we go through the rest of the year, because there will be a lot of data that DPI pulls from IC. So correcting an IC is a great thing to do, very timely. And I think I reminded you about this before, but I just want to touch base again, because this is always a frustration when things don't work smoothly and you really don't have time for that. So Chromebooks, obviously, when they close the cover, they're asleep. They look like they're off, but they're actually asleep. So sometimes they need to be restarted. And when they restart, they refresh the operating system. So the operating system, which is called Chrome OS, has a version number, and currently it's at least 114. It might be at 118. Google updates Chrome operating system really regularly. So those version numbers climb pretty high pretty quickly. So we want to just keep making sure that the Chromebook is up to date so that it will work well with the software. It's important to restart those machines by just pressing the power button and restarting the whole thing every once in a while. So we'll have more information on the technology involved with Access next month. Okay, so this next portion is for those middle schools who have dual language immersion programs. Uh, every year we do something called the AAPPL test or the AAPPL assessment. And what the AAPPL language proficiency test is, access test, which we just spoke about, looks at your or my, if I'm the learner, my proficiency in English. How am I doing in the four domains of listening, reading, speaking, and writing? That's what the access score looks at. This assessment will do the same kind of thing, only for a language other than English. So we do this assessment for our 8th grade students in dual language immersion. Again, we're looking at what is your fluency in Spanish in those same 4 areas: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And so this is a really important assessment to see how things are going for these students. Now, many of them probably have not taken the AAPPL before. Typically, we try to get that in 5th grade, but that hasn't been done for probably 4 or 5 years. That the 5th graders have not been able to do this. They're doing it this year. So this happens in 5th grade, 8th grade, and then when students get into high school, the AAPPL is an assessment that is used also for the seal by literacy and continues to be an assessment in any of the world languages. So let's talk a little bit about this. 8th graders, again, will take all 4 domains. Each domain is approximately 45 minutes. So it takes about 3 hours, not counting the directions, to complete the tests. Please note that once the student starts, it is expected that they will complete this within 48 hours. So you may want to schedule 2 of the domains on one day, 2 of the domains on the next day. That will work just fine. All 4 domains in one day is pretty overwhelming. Just like doing the access test in all 4 domains of the same day. Highly don't recommend that. I don't recommend that very highly. However that works, don't do it. Each student will have a ticket, and you will get a list of students and their tickets shortly, like next week. I am working right now with the vendor and with our tech services team, and maybe we can get this figured out that they won't need a ticket, that ClassLink will do its magic like always. At the very least, we'll have a ClassLink icon set up in the assessment folder that will be actually a bookmark. So literally they'll click on AAPPL and we'll take them to the assessment page that they'll have to put in their username and password. That's the minimal. What I'm pushing for is this same process, the single sign-on process for AAPPL as with other assessments or other programs. So hopefully that will happen, and I'm expecting an answer on that within the next 24 hours. So the 4 domains that students take are the interpersonal listening and speaking, presentational writing, interpretive reading, and interpretive listening. Our students will be taking this using what's called Form A, which is designed for beginner to intermediate learners in a language. And so that is the appropriate level that I've worked with the curriculum team. That's the appropriate level for our students. They will need to use their Chromebooks. They will need headsets. Headsets being those that are not only the listening portion, but they have the microphone so that they can speak as well. If you should have headsets, as I provided them over the last few years. If you don't, I will have a few of them available. Email me separately and we'll talk about what next steps are. If you are going to look for a large number, then I can show you, I can get for you, we'll go through the process with tech services to order them for you. So not out of my budget. Sorry. I can do some. I can't do 50 or 60 or 70. So, all right, this is what you see over here. Form A is this lower portion. Form B is what the high school uses. A couple of things that we'll talk about it on our website. I'm also updating the AAPPL portion of the website, and I'll have these kinds of pieces of information on it. Again, Chromebooks need to be up to date. Because you're using headsets, here's kind of a tip that we've learned over time. Adjust the volume prior to starting the program. So you can run a test. You can listen to something. If it's the right volume before you start Apple, then it'll be the right volume during the test. The hardest thing to do is to get into the test and suddenly realize that you can't hear anything, or that your speaking volume is really low, because you'll have to get out of the test. You may not be able to get back in right away. It's a process. So a volume check ahead of time is always a great thing. One of the things that I know has been a problem with Apple in the past is getting staff access to data immediately. I am working on this right now. I want to make sure that that is not a thing this year. So I will have on the website before too long, probably early next week, I will have a how to get access to your student data in a how-to document. Plus, I'll go through and do a video of that. So it'll be a couple minutes, and that'll be easy to find, easy to walk through. And so students, their data will show up immediately and on the different portions. It does take about 3 weeks, or 2 to 3 weeks, for the speaking portion to be scored. But I just wanted to let you know that my goal is to make sure your staff has access to this data quickly. Now, the window, October 30th through the 17th. We're adding resources as we go. This is an MMSD assessment. Okay, we control this. Unlike Access, where there's a hard start and a hard end date, we can let this be a little bit softer on the end date. It can't go past Thanksgiving break, but I want you to know that it can go up to that, just in case you need that. And I know that people will ask that, but you do need to let me know if that's going, because I will be pulling data for the district. If nobody says anything, I'll assume that the 17th is the last day, and there we go. So please let me know if you need any of the extra time. But again, I am putting kind of a hard stop on it. We're not going to go past Thanksgiving on that. Okay. Dane County Youth Assessment. You may or may not have been involved in this in the past. It is a survey that goes out to all 7th, 8th, and high school students, 7th graders, 8th graders, and high school students. This is a really important piece of information that is anonymous, and it comes from our students and is collected on a district-wide level and as a county. So this is all the schools in Dane County that have 7th, 8th, 9th through 12th graders are going to be involved in this. So let's take a quick look at this. It's given every 3 years. This is not an annual piece. So all Dane County students in those grades are potentially going to be taking this. This is a long-running assessment. It is a survey of our students, and it's been in place since the early 1980s. I've seen some of the results from the mid-80s. They have some really interesting questions, but the questions have been updated since then. I'm not going to go into what those are. If you want to know, have a chuckle, I will share those with you later. The window this year for this assessment is the survey is late January through early March, and we're going to be focusing as a district on early February. I'll get you specifics on this next month, but here's the key. This is an important survey. I can't tell you how much I want to make sure that you understand that this is a survey that gets responses to the students, and it supports your school. Just this past year, MMSD has received over $1.1 million in grants to fund programs that are in your buildings and in the high schools, designed to help support students who are in need based on DCYA data that has been given since the last time we took this. Our data is going to be much better this year simply because 3 years ago was not a good time. It was not a good time to give a survey. So please keep that in mind. I urge you to really allow your students a brief period of time. It takes about 30 minutes to do the assessment. We have a team of people that are working on this, and I will be sharing information with you and providing ideas, providing supports pre-assessment as well as afterwards, so that your students will be able to understand the importance of this, understand the questions that are being asked, and to get more information on services and supports if they need it. So we'll talk more about this, and we'll get some specifics as we get closer to the date. Speaking of surveys, I do want to make sure I was going to make sure I put this in here. Climate survey. Climate survey closes in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow. And we are looking for a building level, a district-wide level return or response rate of about 80%. If you would like to know where your building is at, your principals will receive an email on Fridays. Every Friday morning they get an email. If you need to know, I don't know if they share the data or it's one of those things that just like, yeah, I don't need to know, this is not on fire, etc. Let me know if you need to know where your school is at. It's all in a Google sheet. I can share that with you, and so you can kind of monitor that. It is updated once every day, approximately at 9 a.m. So if you've got students taking the survey right now, if I gave you the access to the spreadsheet, they wouldn't appear. Tomorrow morning, about 9 a.m., it updates all the numbers, and you would see the new percentages. So I can help you out. Please let me know if you need any information about the climate survey. Again, DCYA on the horizon, but I do want to put a plug in also for winter screeners. And yes, they are optional. However, I will have more information for you, but both iReady and Achieve are designed so that they will have a mid-year touch point. They will have a mid-year level set or diagnostic. What that does is readjusts everything based on where your students are. Without that, there will be essentially not as up to date as they possibly could be on, for instance, the level of the articles in Achieve that they're getting, or the difficulty of the math that they're getting in iReady. So I'm going to start now, and you'll hear me say this next month. I would urge you to seriously consider giving that optional winter screener for iReady and for Achieve. So that's my plug for today. I'll work on any questions that you might have at that point. And finally, just a reminder that students are allowed to opt out of all exams. The one that I want to point out as an exception is access. Access is not something that students can opt out of, families can opt their child out of. There are ways that if they insist on not taking the test, we call it something different. It is not an opt-out, just so you're aware of that. We need to enter into the AMS software, for instance, for access. The reason why every single student who is not tested, why do they not test? Cases could be a medical emergency. They moved. They're no longer in the school. or as DRC puts it, they decline to test. This opt-out process is the same regardless of whether or not you're talking about access, we're talking about forward test, the dynamic learning map, etc. So we need to have written communication from the family. A verbal phone call, I can't accept that. If it comes via email, please forward the copy of the email to myself and to Jamie Anderson. If it's a handwritten note, please scan it and forward that to us. If it's a text, I'm pretty iffy on that, but I know that sometimes the only way that you actually can connect with a family is via texting. So if that's the case, and you're positive you're texting with an adult who has the ability to say this, I will accept screenshots of texts from families. So I'd like to avoid that, but I'm open to that. The reason is I need to give a year-end report to the board, and this is something that we take into consideration every year. Just so you're aware that, I mean, even now when we're looking at school report cards from last year, the information on there, it always comes up, well, how many students opted out? What was our percent participation, et cetera. So they may seem trivial, but in the end, those are some of the questions that continue to come up every year. All right. Yes, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. In fact, let's go to here. This is Jamie Anderson's email, JL Anderson. There's more than one. I know it's hard to believe, just like there's more than one T. Peterson. But make sure that you do include the L and the 2 in the appropriate email. So with that, I'm going to just see if there's any questions that are broad that we can address to everyone while the recording is going. Otherwise, I will stop the recording and we will open it up to your questions. So I'm going to take that as a Tim, stop the recording. So I will. Oh, Sarah, did you want to say anything that I missed?
Nope, I just thought you were going to stop the recording.
Okay, I am now. Okay.